Hello and welcome back to my channel HiralsWorld. I know I'm coming after a long time on this space, but trust me, what I have brought today is the question that is in every student's mind. After this, that is Trump's arrival, we have seen many changes in the market, be it trade or be it the country's relationships with each other or be it study abroad landscape. So in today's video, we are going to talk about does it even make sense for you to study in the US after Trump's arrival? And if that is the case, how should you go about looking for jobs? How should you go about selecting the courses? And is American Dream going to be still alive? I would like to invite one of the guest speakers. She is currently in the US and she has reached out to share her journey about finding jobs in the US. How is it at this point in time? Does it even make sense? And what future it holds once you are in the US? So without further ado, let's invite Samida Mahajan for today's conversation. Great. Welcome, Samida. Thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone is eager to hear about your journey and to know more about how they can pursue their career and their life path in the US.
Thank you so much, Hiral, for having me. I'm just super psyched to be over here and sort of help you and spread the word around about design fields and architecture in general.
Without further ado, let me just quickly dive into what is it that you do, and can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. So I am from India. I come from a place called Aurangabad in Maharashtra, and I did my Bachelor's of Architecture in Mumbai. And after my BH degree, I worked in India for a year. And then I decided to pursue my master's. And like most Indian students, I was caught up between the decision of should I pursue it in India, should I go to Europe, Australia, Canada, USA. Pretty much the whole world is your oyster. So I narrowed down on the US, particularly because I had some family over here. And also the degrees over here were good. So I came to Pittsburgh in 2019 to pursue a master's in urban design in Carnegie Mellon University. And yeah, I have been in Pittsburgh since. I currently work at HDR, which is an architectural and engineering firm with offices worldwide. So I work in aviation architecture currently for the Pittsburgh office.
So, like just talking about the architecture field and stuff. Yes, you did mention sort of that US is like, it had good courses. Was it a 1 year or 2 year course?
Oh no. So it varies on what course you take, but the course that I took, which is urban design, was a 2 year course. So it was a 4 semester course. But a few colleges in US do offer courses that are 1 year or 3 semester, which is 1.5 year or 2 years. There are also those degrees where you could get a dual degree, in which case it would be 3 years and two master's degrees. So it really varies to what your comfort is and what you're looking for.
Hmm. And would it kind of matter when it comes to choosing the year of studies in the US? So, for instance, I'll just give you an example. In Canada, if you study for 1 year, like, your postgraduate work permit becomes maybe 1 to 2 years. But if you study for 2 years, then you're kind of eligible to get to up to 3 years of work permit. So, is that the same in the US? How does that work?
I don't think that's the case because in the US, if you come for a STEM degree, then you are going to get 3 years of OPT extension after you graduate. So a few of my friends who came to CMU for the 1.5 year degree did get the 3 year extension as well. So I think it will be the same.
Okay, that's good to know. So yes, people can choose
Yeah.
1 to 2 years. And I think just going back into like the field of study that you've had, what inspired you to pursue a career in design degree, or rather in design field? And how did you envision, right, like settling in the US when you were thinking of pursuing this particular course or this particular program in the US?
Well, when it comes to choosing the degree, my father is an architect as well, and I always wanted to be like him. So, at a very early age, I was very clear that, okay, this is what I want to be. I don't want to be an engineer, I don't want to be a doctor, but I want to create something. I want to be an architect. So, that was pretty much how I got into design in the first place. And about coming to the US, that was actually never on my mind, it was never on my radar. I think it pretty much just happened. I know this sounds very weird to listen to, but so yeah, like I told you, I was considering master's options, and I was like, hey, okay, fine, I'll go to the US. I'll stay there for a bit. If I like it, I'll hang on to life in the US. Otherwise, I'll just come back to India. Uh, that's a possibility that I'm still open to, but I think I've started enjoying life over here quite a lot.
And like, did you do everything on your own, or did you take like support from other external, consultants and people?
You mean for the admission process?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it was yeah, I did it on my own. So what you need, so I had to, so I had applied to like 8 American universities, and it was a mix of GRE versus TOEFL scores for those. So I mean, I gave the exams. I prepared for it on my own. Then I needed to prepare my portfolio. So all architecture and design students are well aware of what a portfolio is, how to prepare it. So yeah, I prepared one of those. Yeah, I spoke to a few friends who had come to the US, and a few seniors who I found out were already pursuing design degrees in the US. So for cover letter help, I sort of got their views on it once I'd framed it like, am I going in the right direction? Is this what US universities look for? I think I prepared everything on my own, and yeah, here
Wow,
I am.
that's really inspiring. So the people who like usually watch my videos are like kind of divided into two different sections. First is like just in high school deciding what they want to do and like how they want to go, where they want to go, and things like that. And there's actually like a small section of the third category who are like kind of already in workforce and looking to migrate abroad. So I think moving on to career path. So yes, first like you did your bachelor's and then you kind of chose the universities and you applied on your own. So
Mhm.
talking about like, after you came to the US, did you face any challenges? How did you overcome those challenges? And um, how did you think that the studies or the architecture was different in the US than that of India? So I know like there are kind of different questions. So let's just first talk about, did you face any challenges?
I would say that in design school itself, I really enjoyed the experience because the culture that we have in design schools in India versus in the US is very different. I mean, I guess in India, design schools have the notoriety of being of having professors who are very strict, who are very mean, who sort of take down your design, and you're left to sort of defend it with every strand of your being. But over here, actually, the professors were very open minded. They understood if you could not work up to the deliverables for a certain class. It was more of a certain respect that the professors gave over here in design school. They almost saw you as their peers as opposed to students who they have to teach. So I mean, I understand that might be a difference because it was undergrad versus grad school. People in grad school come with a lot more maturity. So yes, that is a big factor over there. But I think in terms of the cohort itself, it was a very diverse cohort. So I had classmates who were from China, I had classmates who were from India, I had classmates who were from South Korea. So it was a lot of different perspectives, and not just in terms of the culture and the background, also in terms of age. For example, I had people who were married with 2 kids who were also pursuing their masters. I had people who had like 20 years of experience and they were back to school just because they wanted to pursue it. So all that was very new to me, and that is not something that I had experienced in India. So I think I really liked the diversity and the different perspectives that I could engage with in design school. So yeah, I think when it comes to the school and education itself, that was the biggest difference between US and India. And as opposed to, and when it comes to the professional world, the office, so I do have experience of working for a year in India. So the firm that I worked for was a pretty small firm. It was, so including me, it was around 15 to 16 people in the office. And we majorly focused on residential, educational, and healthcare projects. So that was a nice opportunity. But the firm that I currently work for is a huge firm. So just the Pittsburgh office itself has like 175 people. So the projects we do are very cross-disciplinary. We have all the engineering fields in-house. So it's a completely different scale of operation, I would say. So which is also a very nice thing to learn because I kind of have the perspective from both sorts of practices now, so I can pick and choose what I am more comfortable with. So yeah, when it comes to professional world, I would just say that the experience I've had so far in the US is a very multidisciplinary experience where a lot of different fields collaborate, and I get to collaborate with engineers in-house as opposed to consultants, which is what I was exposed to in India.
So, can you walk us through your job hunting process? So, after school or during school,
Mhm.
what was the job hunting process like? How did you participate in networking? You did kind of talk about that you showed resumes to people when you were submitting it to the school, but
Mhm.
later on, how did you like, kind of prepare your resume, your interview? So, what was it like to, kind of just be there and look for jobs in this given timeline that you are given? Because then you otherwise you would have to return.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, walk us through that.
Yeah, no, I will not downplay this. The job hunt process was extremely stressful and it was very scary. So I graduated in 2021, which was sort of during COVID when everyone was just getting out of COVID. And this also meant that 1.5 semesters for me was remote because there was a lockdown everywhere, which meant we didn't have the traditional career fairs that usually happen. Our career fair happened for 1 year. For 1 year, it didn't happen at all. And for 1 year, and for the 1 year we had, it was online. So I don't know how effective it was because it was something that everyone was trying out for the first time. So uh, I would say that in terms of job search process for designers in particular, I would say that reaching out to the faculty helped a lot because a lot of faculty members usually have their own firms, their own practices. So they are also on the lookout for people who they could sort of take under their wing and who could intern for them. So I think reaching out to the faculty would be step one for anyone who's looking to get an internship, at least. Then I would say reaching out to any seniors or your school alumni who are employed in companies that you want to work for would be an important factor. If you have career fairs, then yes, please definitely. I recently went back to CMU as a recruiter for the career fair, so I know that they really help because we are on the lookout for newer people to come join the workforce. Um, when I was a student, I had, so yeah, I did all these things. I spoke to my faculty and I got jobs as like a teaching assistant, a research assistant. And through these jobs, I actually found an internship. So I interned for the CMU Design Cell. So I used to work for them part time during the semester. And then during the holiday breaks, it used to become full time. So actually, it was through them that I found my current job. So I would say that networking really helps because I was on good terms with my employer, with my internship employers. They were in a position to help me to sort of send out my resume to different firms that I was interested in, give me letters of recommendation. So that always helps a lot. And also, I'd like to share that before I got my job, the one that I'm currently at, I there was a brief time where I had to sort of pick up another job. So I was employed as an environmental designer for around 6 months because so the H1B clock had the OPT clock had started and I was still unemployed. So I had to sort of make do for whatever job I could find just to stop that clock from ticking. And I actually surprisingly got that job through cold emailing. So I would say in very rare cases, cold emailing also helps. So yeah, I worked there for 6 months, and then in the meanwhile, I was also sort of looking for jobs that I actually wanted to do. So yeah, and through my internship employer, I was able to get an interview with my current employer, and that is how I found a job that I really like.
Awesome. Now there is a lot to unpack here. So let me just kind of go and a little bit break it down because I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying, but perhaps like people who are
Uh,
just exploring it may not understand, right?
okay.
So okay, so the first come first serve, yes, moving online and not having that in-person connection is super difficult, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So there are two things that I want to kind of get into deep into. First is the
Mhm.
OPT clock that you talked about.
Mhm.
Could you tell our viewers what that is and what did you mean by that you had to get a job and that job needed to be in certain, I don't know, category? Like what was it like,
Right.
right? So,
Okay. Yeah, so when you graduate, you have to, as part of your post graduation switch to your OPT training, you have to inform USCIS that, okay, this is the date that I'm graduating on. And say, let's make a hypothetical scenario that I'm graduating on June 1st. Okay. Then I need to provide USCIS with a date within their timeline that, okay, say up to 15th June, I'm going to start my job. Now the problem is if I give them that 15th June is the date that I'm going to be employed, USCIS doesn't care if I have a job on 15th June or not. They're like, okay, according to our records, you're going to stop being a university student, stop studying, basically. You will still be on a student visa, but you will stop studying on 15th June. So from 15th June, I'm going to have 60 days to find a job and report to USCIS that, yes, I've joined the workforce and I'm working in the US now. So basically, I need to have a job in my field, related to my field within 60 days. And every one of those days that I am not employed is sort of it's getting away from the 60-day clock, right?
yeah.
So that is what I meant that I actually absolutely needed to have a job because that clock had started for me and I was still unemployed.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow. I mean, 60 days is a is a very like tough. I mean, yeah, I mean, what? It's just
Yeah.
2 months, right? Oh my gosh,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's so
It can
stressful.
be stressful. I mean, a lot of my friends were lucky to find jobs before this happened, so that is good. And a lot of people actually do find jobs before this starts. But yeah, there are cases like me where you just find opportunities a bit late.
Yeah, no, but at least I mean, like, it again goes back to your hard work and like, the fact that you decide to cold email people. So how did you go about finding those emails? I mean, how did you even identify those companies, right? Like the smaller
Mhm.
ones or the mid-sized ones that might be
Right.
just starting off.
So the way I found it was basically I came to know that so I studied urban design, right? So what I was doing was I was strictly applying to urban design firms until then. But upon talking to seniors and alumni and career services in my college, I came to know that okay, design is actually a very vast field, and I need not just restrict myself to urban design or sort of architectural design. I can also go for environmental design. I can go for transport design. So it's a whole different world that opened up for me. So I thought that okay, environmental design is something that could look good on my resume even in the future, and it might be something that I might like because I had not experienced it before. So I literally googled a list of environmental consultancies. It was as rudimentary as that, and sort of made an Excel sheet with emails of different firms, and I started writing to all of them. Yeah, it was time consuming, and I understand it is not the most efficient way of looking for a job. And there is a very minute chance that you might even be able to reach out to a person, but it's just something you try when you're really desperate. And I was desperate enough to try everything because until then I was speaking to people, I was getting referrals, I was getting interviews, but it was not really going anywhere.
Yeah, but I think one thing from your conversation that's standing out is
Hmm.
the networking part, right?
Hmm.
And at least this is what my perspective is that in the past, when I was in India, I was probably pretty young, so I didn't know what networking meant, right? Like, what is
Hmm.
it, right? Because in India, we have like such a vast, like, huge network of our own like relatives that we
Right.
never
Hmm.
step out of it, right? So it's like it kind of
True.
becomes our family network,
Hmm.
which abroad is not possible. So the question is, how did you train yourself to network with people?
Hmm.
Like, I mean, yeah, how did you get comfortable with that idea of forming your own network? And
Hmm.
what can people who are watching do to get there, right? Like to have that network.
Right. Well, I would really say that you can always start right when you're in school. So you could talk to your faculty, you could sort of talk to your seniors, you could talk to the alumni. That is the very first circle of network that you establish. Then it would be a very good idea to join student groups. So, for example, the American Institute of Architects, the AIA, is the National Institute for Architects all over USA. So they have student chapters for different cities. So it would be a really good step to join that. And just like that, we have student chapters for engineering societies, more field specific design committees. So it is a very good place to start. Then you're expanding your student network to include students from other colleges who you might not get an opportunity to interact with. And also, since these are student chapters belong affiliated to a national organization, they have events where you get to interact with people in the workforce. So that becomes a very important step to getting out of your comfort zone in a way, but in a controlled environment, because at the end of the day, it is those people, the professionals who you are eventually going to work with. So it not just opens up employment opportunities for you, but it's also a very good way to find mentors who have been through the same journey and who can guide you for yours. Networking, I think, just comes down to putting yourself out there and being okay with talking to people, because for the longest time that is something that did not come very easily to me. I was very shy, I was very reserved. I was like, okay, this is an already established architect and I'm still a student, what am I going to contribute to this conversation? So I would just keep quiet and be a passive listener. But slowly I had to train myself that no one else is going to speak for me. I'm going to have to speak myself. I'm going to have to advocate for myself. And I think networking is a skill that you develop. It's for most people, yes, there are some people who are very good communicators, who are very comfortable, who are extroverted, like you mentioned. But for a majority of people, it is a skill that you develop. And I would say that I'm on a scale of 100. I'm still not very comfortable when it comes to networking, but it is something that I'm trying to work on because it's a very essential skill to have, at least in the US, where a lot of professional opportunities open up through networking events.
Yeah. Were there like any set of questions that you used to prepare before going in for the networking event or asking them?
I did. So I know the underlying question would always be, could you please help me get a job? But you can't ask that directly. So yeah, it would be like, okay, how did you navigate this process and sort of try to learn through their experiences?
That's a great suggestion. Talking about immigration and visa process, many professionals have this concern, right? That
Mhm.
what is the visa pathway that they should go for, or what will work for them? So I don't know, like, is there any advice in terms of, how this works, or if there's anything that like the population who's watching can get out of this?
I'd say that student visas are pretty easy to come on to like just enter into the US because you're coming in as a student. And then, of course, there's the H-1B work visa. However, given the political climate that currently, I'm not sure how the administration is going to impact all of these visas. So that is something every one of us will find out. But I would still say that it is a good way to sort of get your foot in the door. And if H-1B is something that does not work out for you, then you could explore other visas, like say the O1 visa.
I mean, of course, you have definitely like shared a lot, and I'm sure that like this entire information that you've given is going to be so much more helpful. But let's say looking back, what would you say to your youngest self?
Biggest advice I would give to my younger self would be to talk to people because talking to people always helps. And I would also say that finding good mentors early on in your career is a very important thing because they sort of have the experience, they can guide you, they've been through similar situations. So it's always nice to learn from someone else's mistakes also. You need not have to make the mistake yourself. That would save a lot of time and energy, to be honest. So I would say getting out of your comfort zone really helps. And more than it helping you, it is very essential.
Thank you. Thanks for that wonderful advice. And before I let you go, one very, very last, kind of question.
Mhm.
What do you see are like some of the future opportunities that look promising in design field?
I would say that generally opportunities in the design field, particularly architecture, are looking up because it's one of the oldest professions in the world, and the human need to build is not going to stop anytime soon. So it's not a profession that will go out of style. And also, when it comes to say the current scenario with AI being on such a rise, the inclusion of AI and say something like generative design is something that all firms are looking to explore now. So I would say parametric design, computational design, generative design, roles in all of those are really looking up because it is the next new thing. And all fields are trying to incorporate that into their workflows. Also, with so much emphasis being given to clean energy, energy efficiency, energy consulting roles are like looking up. So green design, lead consulting, or energy modeling, net zero design, all of that is looking up. Um, yeah, I think the traditional roles of residential design, healthcare design, transportation design, those are something that will never go out of style because you need to, with the population rising, of course, you need to provide for that. So I would say that generally employment is looking up. But I would say that the up and coming fields for design, at least, would be in the energy sector and the AI generative sector.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Samida, for your wonderful insights. And everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll make sure that Samida gets her time to answer those. So yes, once again, thank you very much, and I would love to catch up with you again sometime, depending on how many questions we are getting, and if not, just like that, for a coffee as well.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Hero. Thank you so much for having me.